Anthony Davis and Joel Embiid are vying for a starting center spot on the Olympic team. That's going to be in Paris. It's going to be in Paris about a week or two, right? We're going to have the Olympics. And so he got these games yesterday against Serbia. And Embiid had the worst plus-minus of any player for Team USA. And Embiid, France wanted him on their team. Everybody fought hard for him, right? And he goes. Anthony Davis, by the way, has been very subtle about even being included. His quote was about the Olympics, "I'd be happy to play if I'm asked." And he has been an absolutely dominant figure when he's been on the floor. But I've said this for years. Because the NBA is very much into aesthetics and style, I get lectured for years about players. Carmelo Anthony is unbelievable. He was a terrible defender, never in elite shape, a complete isolation player, very few assists, never made a teammate better, didn't do squat in the playoffs. I was told Derrick Rose was going to dominate the league. A highly efficient shooter, more turnovers than I'd like, and hurt all the time. I'm sorry, he's not going to physically dominate the league. I was told Westbrook's an MVP. I thought he was a stat patter. Bad hands, can't shoot for a guard, hyper athletic, but played one speed and often out of control. My eyes did not tell me that Westbrook was an MVP and Carmelo was an absolutely dominant player or Derrick Rose was going to run the league. And my eyes are telling me the same for years with Joel Embiid. I'm not denying he's got a Shaq feel to him. But Shaq won in the playoffs. Shaq was dominant when it mattered. I'm watching this Olympic stuff. Embiid gets in the way of the offense. Anthony Davis doesn't. Hell, Anthony Davis took 2 shots yesterday and was the second most dominating player in the game to Steph Curry. He is literally jumps off the television set. And here's the thing I like about AD, and we've seen this for years in Los Angeles. He can be a star and dominate a game, but he's also an incredibly complementary player. He elevates LeBron. LeBron doesn't have to worry about defending the rim. He can be a complementary player on this Olympic team, or he can dominate moments. With Embiid, there is no complementary to his game. He forces you to play his style. And so does Steph Curry, but I get 4 titles. And so did LeBron, but I got 8 straight finals. With Embiid, he forces you to play his game, but I don't get the payoff at the end of the season. He gets in the way of the Olympic offense, and I find sometimes watching Philadelphia, yes, he's productive. So was Zach LaVine, and the Bulls can't give him away. So was Carmelo Anthony and Westbrook. They didn't win in the playoffs. If you're talking about the greatest bigs of all time, Russell, titles, Kareem, titles, Shaq, titles, Akeem, titles. Embiid can't win a second-round playoff series in the weaker conference. So, again, I'm willing to sacrifice things. LeBron does this a little. You got to kind of build your team around LeBron. But in his prime, so what? I'm going to the finals. Steph Curry, you're going to build some stuff, and you're going to have to sacrifice a little defense with Steph Curry. All right, I'm getting to like 5, 6 finals. I got 4 rings. I don't get the payoff for Embiid. Once again, you're lecturing me on how great he is. Well, greatness in the NBA is May and June. Who gives a rip about January in Cleveland? I want May and June success. I get it with Steph. Like Magic Johnson wasn't a great defender, but I got the payoff. He elevated everybody around him. Magic could play center. He could play guard. He could do anything. Embiid, to me, is a great productive talent, but he's closer to the Westbrook, Carmelo, where I get all this productivity. I'm lectured on how great he is. I'm not sure he elevates anybody. Like Carmelo, you had to kind of run the offense around him. He was kind of a rigid player, but he was an isolation player, a bit of a hole if you gave him the ball, and he couldn't defend. Well, again, there's limitations to how much I'm going to sacrifice in life. I got to get a payoff in the end. Right? So I'm watching this stuff. I'm watching Serbia, USA, Australia, USA. Embiid is not as dominant a player, as important a player, as complimentary a player as Anthony Davis. And I don't think it's relatively close. This, though, has jumped out to me. I like Embiid, but I do feel that Embiid sometimes can't play a complimentary role. Anthony Davis is maybe one of the best complimentary players in the league.
Yes.
This has almost highlighted my concerns with Embiid. Not that he's overrated, but when I watch Embiid on the floor, I feel like he's getting in the way of the offense. Mm-hmm. Have you played with great players who did that? Kind of get in the way of it?
Well, the reason he's getting in the way, because look how big he is on a smaller court. The court shrinks in the Olympics. It's a smaller court. The three-point line is smaller. So everything is kind of packed in. So it looks like he's in the way. Whereas in the regular season, over the last couple of years, he's been the best scorer in the NBA because of you can spread the court, lanes are open.
Maybe Olympic basketball
doesn't look like it fits him.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't. Because there's a lot of switching. The big men are versatile. They can shoot the three. And it's tough for him to play the pick and roll and switch on these guards. Or it's tough for him to play the pick and roll and rotate back out to the bigs who's shooting threes at a high rate. And so that's why the defense gets better when you have Bam Adebayo out there, because he switches.
Yeah.
And so you always see this, the U.S. team keeps making a run. Every time you put Bam and AD in, they make a run immediately.
Yeah. Because
it's the defense, their ability to switch, whereas Embiid, he can't switch. So they're in a drop defense in the pick and roll, so that's why they're swing, open threes at the beginning. And so
it's the same formula over and over.
It's the same formula over and over every night. So if I'm the U.S., I would kind of I would start Bam.
That's interesting.
I would start Bam. I really would. I like what he brings because you don't have to go to him. You know what I'm saying? He's just out there. He's going to set screens.
He creates his own offense.
He creates his own offense. Or, AD the same thing.
Yeah.
I think it's better. Whereas for Embiid to be effective, you have to go to him. He's a scorer. He needs the ball.
Right.
He needs to operate in space. And so if he's not doing that, then he's sort of kind of wasted out there.
So you're 20th all-time leading scorer, Hall of Famer. You retired at 37. Do you remember your last year? LeBron at 39 is rolling. Go to your last year. How did you feel?
Listen, before I even got to my last year, I remember my last 3 years. Like, when I got to year 15, I was like waking out of bed and it was hit or miss. It was like, is this toe? Is this knee? Any given day I can have some type of tendonitis and something. And so
you knew by 9:45 in the morning.
Yeah, if I was going to have it or not.
And Cafe Americano didn't do you any good.
Oh, no, did not do me any good. I probably needed about 3 or 4 massages, ice baths, all before game day.
Is that how it works for radio hosts? I'll be in big trouble. I know by 5:55 in the morning if I've got it. Paul Pierce, the Hall of Famer.